Today we'll assemble a base sink cabinet with Cabinet Express Canada's Brian Simpson. First, start with the end gables that have a notch piece in them, as shown. Place them with the holes and the track facing up. Next, we're going to start by putting a little glue into each of the dowel holes. Make sure not to use too much glue. If you do, it can easily be wiped up with a damp cloth. Next up, open up the hardware package and take out the screws and the dowels, and we're going to put the dowels into each of the holes that we've glued. Now that that's done, let's put the screws into the white plugs as shown. We're going to hand start them. And after that's completed, grab your power drill and use the drill to set all the screws. And now we're going to get the piece with the channel, which is your base piece. Notice how one side has the channel, one doesn't. Line up the piece with the plugs and insert. See how the channels line up on the one side. Next, we'll insert the cam locks on the other side. Get the next piece and note where the cam locks go in. In the opposite hole, put a little glue just to secure. And we're going to insert that into the cabinet and click into place. Again, using the cam locks and tightening with a hand screwdriver. We don't want to over tighten. Moving on to the next piece, again adding a little glue and repeating the steps, putting it into the cabinet and securing it, and now putting the cam lock in. Moving on to the next piece with the track in it, this is where the back panel will go. Again, adding a little glue, and you put that where there is no cam lock, securing that into place on the cabinet as shown. And now locking it down and tightening with the cam lock. Okay, we're moving on to our next piece now. Always note that there's a finished and an unfinished edge on these, adding a little bit of glue. And once again, as shown, just click into place into the main cabinet body. Adding your cam lock just to secure things. Take the next piece, add a little glue, and once again, locking into the main cabinet body. Take your time, don't force it. Everything should line up. Once again, adding the cam lock. And once we've got that done, we'll take our screwdriver and lock it in. Now that we've got that done, we're going to move on to the back panel portion of the project. And as you can see, if you've lined everything up properly, this should slide right in. And there we go. Just a reminder again to take your time, do not force it, and make sure it's seated and straight at the bottom as shown. Moving on to the other end gable. Repeating the steps and starting with a little glue in the dowel holes. And now collect your dowels and put them into the holes that you've glued. Again, we're going to move on to hand starting the screws. And after you've got that done, we'll grab our power drill and we will secure them into place. Now we're going to add some glue into the ends of the main cabinet, and this is where the dowels will go. And we're going to place this piece on the cabinet. Notice that the channel is at the back. Taking your time once again. Everything should line up. Don't force it. Giving it a little tap if necessary. Now we're going to put the cam locks in and tighten them down. Okay, moving on to the door portion of the project. Turning the cabinet over. And let's open up the doors. Just a note to be very careful. You don't want to mark the finishes on the doors. And now we'll get the hinges out. Note the hinge plates are attached to the hinges and you can clip them off. Place the hinges and unclip them from the plate. Note that there are 2 imprints to line up with that are on the cabinet. The plates can be moved up or down to adjust the door. Don't put the screws in the front holes until installation. Once the hinge plates are lined up, get ready to drill into the imprints that you see. Make sure the hinge plate is centered. A note, it's a good idea to make sure that you don't over tighten. You can always tighten later. And we are not going to put any screws in the front holes at this time. We can do that later. Now let's move on and get those hinges on the doors. As you can see, there's a couple of holes to line them up with. And we're just going to take our power drill and drill those in. Again, a note, not to over tighten. And as you can see, there are slight holes that are guides for you to know where to drill. Moving on to the next door, repeating the steps. And just drilling them into the small pilot holes that you will see on the doors. You can also use a regular screwdriver for this part of the project. Now let's get those door bumpers on. They go opposite the hinges as shown. Now the faces of the drawers are not installed until later. They're attached to this piece aligned with the doors with proper gapping. You can attach the faces after the cabinet has been installed to make sure everything lines up correctly. Those hinge plates are getting screwed in. Again, you will notice pilot holes. And we're going to turn our cabinet over and get ready to clip in the doors. Line it up and they should clip and push into place. A reminder that adjustments can always be made later on. The front screws adjust the door left and right. The back screw adjusts the door out and in. Loosen off the hinge plate if necessary so everything lines up, and we're done the project.